Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video we are going to be looking at customizing the LXQT desktop so that you can make it work the way you want it to. I am using Debian Linux with the LXQT desktop, and if you want to follow along then I have an install guide showing how to install this very version. So we're going to start off by clicking on the menu in the bottom corner and we will navigate to the Preferences menu. Then go to LXQT Settings and finally click on LXQT Configuration Center. The LXQT Configuration Center has options for configuring just about anything within the LXQT desktop environment, but for now let's just start with Appearance. There are 6 tabs down the left side of the screen, including Widget Style, Icon Theme, LXQT Theme, Font, Cursor and GTK Style. By far the most interesting of these is the LXQT Theme, but for now let's play around with some of these widget styles. As you can see, you can change the widget style. I've gone from Fusion to Breeze to Clean Looks and GTK. The changes are sometimes subtle, but you can also amend palette colors and you can change the behavior of the toolbar buttons. The next tab is for amending icon themes, and you can adjust your icon's look and feel by selecting one of the predefined themes. The LXQT Themes tab enables you to change to completely new themes, and later on I'll show you how to install more themes than just the ones shown on the screen. To change the theme, simply click on the theme you want to try and click Apply. I have noticed that there is a checkbox which asks you whether you want to use the theme's default background, but it doesn't appear to matter whether you check this box or not. The background theme seems to change anyway. As you can see, there are dark and light themes, and you should find one that matches your taste. The Fonts tab lets you change the font style and size on the interface, including desktop icons, windows and things like that. You can change the look and feel of the cursor on the Cursors tab. There aren't too many to choose from by default. You can, however, change the cursor size. The final tab is GTK Styles, and this is switched off by default, but you can check the box and you can then choose different themes for GTK2 and GTK3 applications. For me, it is usually better to leave this turned off and use the default theming, but the option is there if you wish to override the defaults. There are other things you can do within the appearance, such as amend the panels and change the background wallpaper, but that is for later on in the guide. And for now we'll close out the Appearances window and we'll look at the brightness one. Now this screen lets you adjust the brightness of your screen, very useful for someone like me who struggles with dark mode. Next up is the date and time settings. If you set your time zone incorrectly during the installation, then this is the place to change it. I recommend changing the time zone in the Time Zones tab rather than just amending the clock. So let's move on to the desktop settings, and this is where you can change things like desktop icon sizes and the text size of icons. There are 4 tabs here, horizontally this time as opposed to the vertical tabs on the appearance screen. The tabs are General, Background, Slideshow and Advanced. As mentioned, you can adjust icon sizes and label text on the general screen, and you can do things like adjusting margins, but I don't overly recommend changing these and I'm not sure how well they work. The background tab is where you can set your desktop wallpaper. So you can set it to a base colour, and you can do this by clicking in the coloured box and choosing the colour you like, and you can then amend the wallpaper mode to fill with background colours only. If you prefer to use an image, and most of us do, then you can use the Browse button to navigate to a folder where your wallpapers live and choose the wallpaper of your choice. You can adjust the wallpaper mode to stretch the full screen, fit the screen, center, tile or zoom. And you can also choose to have a different wallpaper on each monitor if you have multiple monitors. The Slideshow tab lets you pick a folder full of images and then the wallpaper changes at the specified interval, and you can either cycle through the images or pick a random image. You need to tick the Enable Slideshow box to enable this feature. The Advanced tab isn't really that advanced and should be called the Icon Settings tab because it just lets you choose which icons appear on your desktop. Next up is Desktop Notifications. Within this screen you can choose where the notifications appear and how long they stay on the screen. There are 2 tabs, General, Settings and Position. The General Settings lets you set the duration, width and spacing of the notification, as well as how many to save. You can turn on the Do Not Disturb and you can ignore notifications from certain applications. The Positions tab lets you choose one of 8 positions on the screen for notifications to appear. The File Association screen lets you associate different file types with their applications, and you can also use the default applications tab to choose your default browser, your email client and your file manager. The keyboard and mouse settings let you adjust how you interact with your computer. There are another 5 vertical tabs, this time with mouse, cursor, keyboard, keyboard layout, and finally mouse and trackpad. The mouse tab lets you switch the buttons depending on whether you are left or right handed, and you can adjust the double click interval and scroll speed. The cursor tab lets you adjust your mouse cursor and is the same as the one in the appearance screen. The keyboard tab lets you adjust your keyboard settings, so you can adjust things like the delay between repeated characters, etc. Probably the most useful tab on the screen is for the keyboard layouts, and this is where you set the language and keyboard layout for your keyboard. This is certainly useful if you selected the wrong one during installation. Finally, the mouse and trackpad lets you choose the device and various scroll settings. The locale screen lets you choose your locale, and you can adjust different details manually, such as your number formats, your time, currency, measurement units, things like that. The monitor screen is very useful as it is the place where you can adjust the screen resolution. There is an advanced tab which lets you choose the refresh rate and rotation of the screen. The power management screen is useful on laptops. It has 4 vertical tabs. The first option lets you manage your battery, such as letting you choose when to warn about low battery. The lid tab lets you choose what happens when you close your lid and when you are using an external monitor. The idleness tab is probably the most useful for a desktop user. I hate it when my screen turns off, or worse, goes to sleep. If I'm not using my computer, I will shut it down. I don't want it to sleep when I'm downloading or walk away for a few minutes or I'm watching a video, etc. The idle screen allows me to adjust the settings accordingly. Finally, the power keys tab lets you choose what happens when you press the power button. It also has options for hibernate and suspend. There is a screen for managing session settings. For instance, on the basic settings tab, you can turn on and off different modules, although I'm not sure I recommend doing this unless you know what you are doing. The user directories tab lets you choose different folders to use as the home folders. You can choose a different downloads folder, for instance. The auto start tab lets you choose which programs run at startup. And finally, there is an environment tab where you can choose set environment variables. Again, I would leave this alone unless you know what you are doing. The keyboard shortcut screen is well worth checking out, as it shows you all the keyboard shortcuts available to you within LXQT. You can try each of the shortcuts out to see what they do, and you can adjust them to be shortcuts you prefer to use, and you can even add in new ones. For instance, I added Ctrl and W to open the web browser. You can add new users to your system using the users and groups option, and you can see their user ID and main group, and the groups tab lets you see which groups they belong to. The advanced tab lets you choose the location of their home folder and which shell they use within the terminal. You can also change the password for a user in the user screen. Under system settings, there is an alternative screen which lets you adjust lots of settings. For instance, you can change desktop wallpaper, themes, default terminal emulator. I would be very careful within this screen though. There are other tools in the configurator such as Synaptic for installing applications, there's printer settings, etc. But let's move on to a bit more customization. So exit the configuration tool and hover on the panel at the bottom. And as you can see, when you right click, you can choose configure panel. There are 3 vertical tabs to choose from, including placement, styling and widgets. The placement tab lets you change the size of the panel and the size of the icons within the panel. More importantly though, you can choose where on the screen to position the panel and whether to align it to the left, the right or centre. Personally, I like to auto hide the panel as I find it can get in the way when using tools such as Kdenlive. The styling tab lets you change the opacity if you have a compositor installed, and you can also choose a background image for the panel. You can also override the theme for the panel. The widgets tab shows you all the widgets currently in your panel, and you can add more by clicking the plus symbol. This gives you a list of other widgets that you can add. By default they appear on the far right of the panel, but you can move them along by pressing the up and down arrow. Now earlier on in the guide I mentioned that you can install other themes, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. First of all, go to opendesktop.org/browse in a web browser. Click on desktop themes and then LXQT themes. This gives you a list of themes to try. I usually click on the rating tab so that I can see those with the highest ratings. To download a theme, click on it and then click on the download button that appears and then the zip file. Some of the themes are in the form of a zip file and others in the form of a gzip file. So I'm going to show you how to extract each one separately. So now you can close the browser once you've downloaded the themes you want to install and open a terminal window as shown here. Type pwd to find your current folder and then type cd downloads. Type ls to get a list of the files. For this example, I've put all my download themes into a folder called themes. You can do this as well if you wish using the file manager. For the files that have .zip as the extension, you can unzip them by typing sudo unzip and then the file name. If it has spaces in the file name, type the file name in quotes. For files ending in tar.gz, type tar-xzvf followed by the file name. Again, if the file name has spaces, put quotes around them. The benefits of using a themes folder as I have here is that we can now remove the zip files and gzip files. Type sudo rm star.zip to remove the zip files and sudo rm star.gz to remove the gzip files. Now type cd /user/share/lxqt/themes and type sudo cp space -r space tilde/downloads/theme/star and then space dot. And what this is going to do, now the command's on the screen for those of you who didn't follow along with that, but what that's going to do is copy the themes from your themes folder under your downloads folder into the user share LXQT themes folder. Now if you go back into the appearances tab within the LXQT configuration tool, you will see that the new themes are listed and you can switch between them as you did all the other themes. And that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you haven't done so, click the subscribe button and I will see you next time on Everyday Linux User.